Hi there, everyone. Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Dan Butcher, AFSA's Director of Communications. In the first episode of our podcast for 2022, we continue our 50-state series, where we ask questions of financial services regulators around the country. We're making our way through all 50 states, getting to know the regulators that are a part of our industry. Today, Danielle Fagre Arlowe, Senior Vice President and Head of the State Government Affairs team here at AFSA, speaks with Neal Monaghan, Chief Examiner at the Colorado State Attorney General's Office. Now, I hope you enjoy this conversation with Danielle and Neal.
Okay, well, Dan, thank you for that great introduction. And we're really lucky to have Neal Monaghan from the Colorado Attorney General's Office with us today. They oversee consumer credit in Colorado for anyone who's not an expert on the agency. Neal Monaghan, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I'm really excited about this.
So we have 5 questions that we ask everyone, and here we go. How did you get to where you are?
As you can tell from my accent, I'm not actually a native of Colorado. I'm originally from Britain.
Didn't know that.
Born and raised in Sheffield. Sheffield, it's a post-industrial city these days. It was the centre of the world steel industry for almost 200 years. For a good comparison, think Pittsburgh. But since the 70s, most of the steel mills and coal mines have closed down. I read economic development at the University of East Anglia in Norwich, which in stark contrast to Sheffield, Norwich is a medieval city with a beautiful cathedral. It's almost 1,000 years old. After college, I really wanted to work for law enforcement, so I took a job with Her Majesty's Customs and Excise, as they were called at that time, in Cambridge, which is another medieval city. And it was tremendous fun. I was on a team that investigated bootlegging of diesel, alcohol, tobacco. But opportunities for promotion were really, really rare. It was actually a grim description. It was promotions only ever filled dead men's shoes. Yeah. But my boss was friends with people at the Inland Revenue, which was the UK's equivalent of the IRS. He knew that promotion was more achievable there, so I applied. I was accepted, and I underwent a lot of accountancy training, a lot of exams. I qualified as an inspector of taxes, which is the equivalent of a chartered tax accountant, and my prior law enforcement experience put me in great standing. I was assigned to a role as an intelligence officer, investigating black market activity and proceeds of crime, and by this time I was living and working in London. I was really, really happy there. You know, London, it's a world city, so much culture. I never ever thought I would leave. And then I met my wife, well, my wife-to-be at that point. And she was from Colorado, and as much as she loved London, she hated the weather, and still does. She's used to 300 days of blazing sun every year, and on the other hand, I was used to 330 days of heavy cloud and drizzle. So if I was going to work, I would be moving, and I did. After 12 years with the British government, I got on a plane and moved to Colorado. I arrived here on a K1 visa, a fiancé visa. Now that's not just useless information, that's really important. It's a non-immigrant visa. You can't work with that visa, you can't have work pre-arranged. You're not given a green card on entry. You have to apply for work authorization after you've arrived, after you've married. It's a really slow process. So it was really, really daunting. A complete step into the unknown. I gave up a secure career, one where I had a lot of prospects. I had no idea what awaited. But I knew I wanted to continue with public service, and I looked and looked for an opportunity that I really, really wanted. I had a friend in DC who was a regulator, and through her I'd grown really interested in the regulatory world. When I saw that Colorado had they were hiring a debt management examiner, I just jumped at that opportunity. The debt management program here was relatively new. The vacancy only existed because my predecessor had died at a tragically young age, and she'd done an incredible job setting up a really robust licensing side of the program. But at that point, the examination side was non-existent, so that was my initial focus. And I led the debt management program for 5 years. I then supervised our collection agency program for just over a year, and then in 2016 I moved to my current position, which is Chief Examiner in the Consumer Credit Unit with direct responsibility over our lending program. So that's how I got to this seat today.
Wow, that's amazing. And the debt management program, that was debt settlement companies, and who else is under there?
Credit counseling companies too,
Okay.
and a little bit of credit repair as well.
Oh, okay. Well, those are all things that are very interesting to us. In the course of your career, obviously anonymously, what's the worst in the United States in this position? What's the worst thing you've ever seen professionally?
Well, it's pure fraud, pure theft, and I'm very pleased to say this does not involve our licensees. This is the unlicensed realm. And I'm sure everyone watching this interview, everyone listening, will be aware of the major scams. And as you almost certainly know, they often target very vulnerable groups, the elderly, recent immigrants, and it can cause huge, sometimes irreparable harm to consumers. On the collection side, it's the infamous story, a completely fictitious debt that sounds plausible. It's from years and years ago. Do you remember that you had this loan at this time? And a threat of dire consequences. So you might get a phone call from someone claiming to be a sheriff, and they could be using technology that spoofs the actual phone number of the local sheriff's office. In fact, for a while, people were spoofing our number and giving our number to people, saying they're from the Department of Law. So they tell the consumer that a deputy is on the way to their home or their workplace, and that the consumer is going to be arrested if they don't make immediate payment over the phone. And that spooks people, and people make the payment, and it's horrific. And then on the lending side, the targeting of people who are close to ruin. They may need a loan to pay mortgage arrears or keep a business afloat through a very tough time. Their credit is so bad that they're turned down by legitimate lenders who are doing strong, robust underwriting and recognize that there's too much of a risk. But they might receive a solicitation offering a life-saving loan if they pay the closing costs up front. Just last week we saw someone pay their very last $2,000 with the promise of receiving a $30,000 loan. They wired that $2,000, I think it was to an overseas bank, and they never received the loan. It's heartbreaking.
Wow. And I guess on a cheerier note, what is something good a company did that surprised you, either in an examination that you found or otherwise?
Well, actually, nothing surprises me. And the great news here is because I'm used to seeing so many good things. And speaking in very general terms, the majority of our licensees really try to comply with our laws, rules, regulations. I mean, we do so many exams each year. And I'm really pleased to say that most of the exams are no violation reports. As a regulator, nothing makes me happier. I mean, it means we're doing a good job through our examination program, and creditors are doing a great job too by investing in compliance, investing in robust systems, investing in their people. Equally, I mean, we do cite violations, but I'm happy to see how often creditors work really diligently to fix what went wrong. And while we do see repeat violations, they are rare. And I think here working with NACA and indirectly through AFSA goes a really long way in this regard. Many of you listening or watching will remember Laura Udis. I mean, she was the administrator here in Colorado for years. She worked so hard, both in her capacity as administrator and also, I think she was a 2-time president at NACA, to build relationships. And since Laura left, Julie Mead, Martha Fulford, Mary Giesling, and I, we've ran with that mission, and hence my current role as a NACA officer. My role with NACA, the exposure that brings to AFSA and its members, that's really helped my office and the industry work together. And on that note, Danielle, I'd like to thank you for all the work you've done with NACA. You're always willing to volunteer your time. Your presentations to NACA member schools and meetings, they're always so well received. What you bring to that NACA-AFSA relationship is so valuable.
Thank you so much, Neal. That is so kind. What are your department's current priorities? What's going on in 2021, 2022 for you?
Well, it's actually the same as every year. New legislation is what always drives our priorities. And there are so many hot topics, little pieces of new legislation at the moment, but the two that I'm most excited about are the Non-Bank Mortgage Servicer Act and the creation of the Office of Financial Empowerment, OFE, for which we are currently hiring staff. The remit of the OFE is broad, and I'd encourage anyone listening or watching this to Google OFE in Colorado and really see what it's about. But going back to that fraud that I mentioned earlier, I'm really excited about the possibilities for OFE to build on the work that we've already done and to further our warnings about these scams. That benefits the consumers, and it benefits our legitimate licensees. If I was a consumer, if I'd have been defrauded by a collection scam or a lending scam, I might be less willing to trust legitimate lenders in the future. Now, that would cause me further economic harm, because by not taking access of legitimate credit, I'm probably negatively affecting my chances of owning a better car and maybe being able to commute to a better job or any other thing that credit can bring such positive benefits. But it affects demand for legitimate loans from legitimate lenders, and therefore hurts our licensees, and that's not fair. So by helping to reduce the fraudsters' impacts, we're hoping to foster greater trust in legitimate lenders and a stronger credit market in the States. And a further goal of the OFE is working with stakeholders to encourage increased access to lower cost loans. Again, this could potentially help any of our licensees expand their customer base. It works hand in hand with my role, which is defined by statute, of facilitating the fair provision of credit. So it's a really exciting development, as is the Non-Bank Mortgage Servicer Act, which is long overdue. It's been a long time coming. For the very first time, the servicing of first mortgages will finally be regulated in Colorado. And we're currently building our licensing framework. That goes live in January, and over the coming months we'll be building the examination framework too. So they are the two priorities at the moment.
Will be exciting to watch what you do. Now, besides the fact that you're not from Colorado, which was shocking to me, what's something about you that would surprise people?
Well, I'm not really a particularly surprising person, but if you want to know who I am, I love baseball. I'm a Colorado Rockies fan. I also love watching my local high school football team. Their season's just ended. They didn't do that well, but, there's always next year. And at college level, I've been a huge fan of the Rice Owls for over 35 years. My father sold rare books to collectors, and I inherited his love of detective fiction. My favourite author is John le Carré, and I'm currently rereading Perfect Spy. I'd forgotten just how good a book that is. I love fishing, but I'm terrible. So I guess in reality, I just love sitting in a chair at the side of a lake and relaxing. And I really, really, really love to cook, and that's me.
What's your specialty? What's your cooking specialty?
I do a really good Peruvian chicken with a goat's cheese and jalapeno and cilantro sauce. It's excellent.
Yum, now I'm hungry. Well, Neal, thank you so much. I could listen to you all day. Dan and I were agreeing that we just would love to listen to you read a story to us. We love your voice. Thank you so much for your time. We really, really appreciate it.
No, thank you. This has been so much fun.
AFSA hopes you've enjoyed this edition of the Extra Credit Podcast. Don't forget to follow AFSA on Twitter at AFSA_DC and on LinkedIn. Just search for the American Financial Services Association. You can also follow AFSA's SGA team on Twitter at AFSA_SGA. The blog at AFSAonline.org is a great resource for the most up-to-date news. If you've got questions or if you'd like to suggest a guest, please shoot us an email at communications@afsamail.org or tweet at us. Join us next time for more Extra Credit. Thanks for listening.